Hello, going with my last video, New King James Version Bible evaluated in 5 minutes. I've now done one on New King James Version evaluated in 5 minutes. And, must be said, it preserves the much loved phrases and cadences of the KJV, and it has made a number of necessary updates and some quite ranging improvements. And there they are listed. Pulled back on free variation. So some good changes there. Gospel parallel passages have been conformed where the Greek is the same. So I noted in the last video about this inconsistency, which they've fixed up. And I also noted this one that they've fixed up, and this one that they've fixed up nicely. But I have to say there are deficiencies remaining. Firstly, they have spurned the use of better manuscripts of the Bible, and they stick to what's called the majority text. They still use italics for words supplied by the translators, which I think is wrong-headed. And here's an interesting one. They capitalize all pronouns referring to God and Jesus everywhere. This is good for fostering a reverent attitude, but that certainly wasn't the idea of Jesus' opponents in, for example, John 10:33. Verses are a paragraph each. Sense unit paragraphs are surely much better. They call their translation philosophy complete equivalence, which certainly sounds good, but it often leads them to over-literal translations. For example, cleanness of teeth makes you think of a new dental care product. What it's supposed to mean is no food. Jesus is made to address Mary Magdalene, the woman at the well, and even his mother as woman. Well, certainly in my dialect of English, that's not a polite way to address a woman, and certainly not your mother. Here's a confusing one. Romans 8:29. He predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. What does might mean here? Because normally in normal modern English, might means, well, it might happen or it might not. But it's actually used here as a subjunctive form. That comes from old or very formal English to follow a word like that or so that. It's got nothing to do with uncertainty. Very confusing for modern readers. We would simply say so that he could be the firstborn among many brethren. Here's another example. They held their peace and answered him not a word. Here the Hebrew simply says keep quiet, or ESV, they were silent. The word peace doesn't occur. So what's going on? Well, hold your peace was an old English way of saying keep quiet. So here the NKJV translators have violated their own translation principles and left anyone unfamiliar with Old English confused again. In my 5-minute evaluation of the King James Version, I said that using it is a bit like driving around in a Model T Ford. You might do it for curiosity value or nostalgic attachment, but not for serious motoring. Along the same lines, using the NKJV is a bit like driving around in a Model T Ford with a few modifications. If you want the best motoring, choose a good modern car. And to get the most out of your Bible, choose a good modern version.